So let's dig into the game that we both watched before the podcast started. Heat Sixers, 106-92 victory for Miami, 24-12 for Bam, 25 for Tyler Hero. Relatively quiet night after a hot start from Jimmy Butler. Had 15 points, also had 9 boards. Um, I guess I'll just go open ended for you. What was your, I guess, what stood out to you the most in that game?
I had a few things that stood out to me, but probably the biggest takeaway for going open ended, Philly's got a template here
Mm-hmm.
to win this series and make them competitive. Now, the math changes because Embiid's out, and I thought they did as much as they could in that first half and eventually ran out of steam. But there's a way they can kind of wiggle their way through this series. I thought there were some positives for Philadelphia as far as we can get Tyrese Maxey going. We can get Tobias Harris going. And we can use James Harden as a pressure point. Those are three positives, even with Embiid out. Now you bring Embiid back into the mix. Now you can kind of blend some things together. I was intrigued by their matchup hunting. I thought that was a big deal in this series in the first place. And you could see that they were trying to put Gabe Vincent in pick and roll with James Harden. They're trying to put Tyler Hero in pick and roll with James Harden, trying to get that mismatch and now attack. And you saw Miami kind of cycle through the coverages. Hey, we'll give you the switch. Now we're going to switch in double. And now you saw Philly hit Maxey. Now he's driving. But I thought Miami did feel more comfortable with the switch and double, which is the negative of having no Embiid. You have to kind of rely on that. So Miami can kind of get more comfortable with it. But I thought Philadelphia did some fun things as far as, okay, let's try and manipulate Miami's defense a little bit. Let's make sure the low man is small so that when we do get this and we switch and double or we get a pick and roll and you're two on the ball, we can hit the roller and finish. Just little things like that. Maxi Hero is an interesting matchup of two really good scorers that both teams want to attack, but that was my first takeaway. What did you think?
I was with you. Like Philly has a template, and that just kind of flipped me back to what is Miami's half court offense going to look like in this series. And I feel like a broken record at times, but that's kind of where I went because the start was tremendous. Miami was kind of waltzing into pull ups. Jimmy Butler got going early. They were able to get out and transition a little bit. Shots were falling. It was all fun. It's all fun. And then DeAndre Jordan goes off the floor, and Philadelphia is like, hey, actually, how about we throw in some zone? Let's see what kind of reads you're going to make. Let's see if y'all can keep the good vibes going. And things bogged down almost immediately. And I was like, see, this is why, even without Embiid out, I see this series going long because I don't see the consistency I would like to see with Miami's half court attack. Just in terms of the decision making, just in terms of generating good looks consistently. I didn't love what I saw from Miami late in that first half. And this is before you get into the fact like almost everyone shot poorly from three. Like you will see some regression, some positive regression moving forward, I think. But just from a process standpoint, Miami got bogged down and slowed down a little bit. They were hunting for things. Philadelphia was able to load up on some of their actions early in the clock. And from there, it was okay, Jimmy save us. Bam save us. It's PJ Tucker and Jimmy Butler running into each other in the corner trying to execute a handoff late in the clock. It's Caleb Martin taking bailout shots at the end of the clock. Just like if Philadelphia can do this without Embiid on the floor or without Embiid available, then I am worried about when he's on the court if they aren't able to keep their same pace up, what the offense is going to look like.
No, yeah, it's. I think that's a very key point. I thought Miami hit all the right notes they needed to early, aggressive, especially against the Philadelphia's bigs in a drop. I thought Gabe Vincent set a tone. As far as the series goes, big picture wise, I think Philadelphia finding those different things defensively is important because now we can throw drop at you, we can throw zone at you, we can be active against your off ball actions, we can switch if we go small. So there's different things they can throw at Miami. And for Miami, it's about the consistency and finding that blend offensively When they had the ball movement and the player movement, they looked good. Once they bogged down and went overly mismatch hunting or played
Hmm.
slow, tempo wasn't good, that's where it got interesting. And the tough part for Miami is that's the template for almost any team. We just need to bring you into the mud offensively.
Hmm.
That'll give us a chance to solve whatever you're throwing at us on that end. We'll have more shots at it. If we can just get y'all to miss some shots, we get some easy ones. Now we're flowing a little bit. We can attack more in the half court. They have to solve that problem. I thought they responded well. Now, Philadelphia kind of helped them a little bit because it felt like Doc wanted to go small after the success they had in the first half. But when he went small, Miami got like 95 offensive rebounds in a row. So Doc was immediately like, okay, let's not go small. And then Miami responded with, sweet, pick and roll. This is what we've been waiting for. And they pick and roll. Name a big, they pick and roll them to death. Paul Millsap, this is usually the time of year his knees thawed out. They are still in the freezer right now. DeAndre Jordan,
Go ahead.
Paul Reed.
Wait, wait a minute. Oh man, no. Let's talk about DeAndre for a little bit because oh man,
ISO.
oh, no isolation needed. But like honestly, I felt bad for him because like early pick and rolls from Miami, Philadelphia was icing them. DeAndre was dropping back, and it was okay. Like Miami hit some shots, but I didn't feel like DeAndre Jordan was just getting blasted in pick and roll early on. And you think what 2 or 3 minutes in, Philadelphia is beating Miami's press, which I want to talk about that a little bit too. But they beat the press. DeAndre's chilling in the dunker spot. He gets a lob off. It's like, okay, if DJ can hold serve in a drop against these Jimmy pick and rolls, and he can just do that, then okay, you can hold serve until you go to your smaller lineups. He just needs to be a bridge for them to get to the lineups that are really going to work. But after that initial stretch, it was just bad. And then he stuck. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say third quarter, Miami started doing some empty side stuff and starting to poke at that drop a little bit. And I was like, yeah.
That's the one. And so I am a little bit concerned about DJ in game two moving forward. If you're zooming out, like he just needs to be the bridge until Embiid comes back. But if Miami is going to go more empty corner stuff and like really hunt that matchup and hunt that coverage, I just don't know how much you can play him. And from there, I'm curious to see where Philadelphia goes. For listening to Doc Rivers, it's going to be much of the same in game two. I don't know if you've seen the post game comments, but there was a
Oh, he's sick of y'all again?
he's we're gonna start DJ whether y'all like him or not because the players believe in him. I was like, I
This
see.
man is beyond fed up with y'all.
I was like, all right, well, if that's the energy, GG's, I respect it. But no, like my thought there is like, I don't know how much you can go DJ in game two, even if you don't want to start Paul Reed because of the foul issues, and he does foul a lot. Honestly, I would start super small. Like I'd go Tobias at the five and then flow into Paul Reed as your backup five if you're worried about the fouls in that three. Like DJ's just feeding them drop. And you don't want to give Miami a pressure point because again, once things got bogged down from Miami, once you took away drop, once they switched a little bit more, or once they went to that zone specifically, that's when things really bogged down for them, particularly in the first half. If DJ's basically giving them a pocket to create something out of, you're letting them off the hook, and I don't think you can afford to do that.
Probably can't, but in theory, you're hoping that you can get, like you said, a bridge, and you can get enough of Jimmy Butler comes off and pick and roll, two dribbles, we recover, we're good type of scenarios, rather than empty side pick and roll, wait, where's Bam type deals. So it's going to be on Miami to hit that pressure point when DeAndre's on the floor. And I thought in the second half, they did a good job of saying anytime there's a big, go for it. My only concern is DeAndre almost has to start by default to me. So like I starting super small wouldn't be bad. The only issue is now, yeah, you can go to Paul Reed, but if that doesn't work, you're kind of back in the same boat. And as much as I like that super small lineup, it also needs George Niang to hit shots. And it
Yeah,
feels like he's kind of in the, and this is no disrespect, the Al Horford playoff zone where knocks down a whole bunch of shots, and now this is the time for you to continue to do so, and you have not. Dot dot dot.
yeah. Nearly 22 minutes, 0 points, 0 7 from three. That is probably a hot take on my end, but that is not going to cut it if you are looking to generate good offense.
We only bring the spice here on the dunker spot.
This is very true. I'll ask. Oh, were you about to say something?
I was gonna say, how did you like the full court press from Miami, where they said, "Hey, PJ Tucker, you just go bother James Harden as much as possible, and when you come out, Victor Oladipo, you go ahead and do it." I thought that was a fun game within the game for me.
I didn't love it, and I
Really?
yeah, I wasn't. I felt like the theory behind it is sound, and this isn't something that Miami's just sprinkling out for the first time. Like they've been pressing teams for large chunks of the year, so I get it. I didn't like it in this one, mostly because with this being more of a Harden centric offense with Embiid out, I think the template for Philadelphia offensively, I think they want to be able to push a little bit. They want to be able to play with a little bit more pace and see if you can get some cracks in Miami switches and things like that. And the press, especially once Philly started screening high and trying to get like hitting Tucker, hitting Vincent, whatever you got that matchup and stuff, Harden was able to get downhill a little easier. And if Harden's able to touch the paint, like he can still create open looks for you. Again, for Philadelphia tonight, they just couldn't hit anything at all. 6 of 34 from three. But from a process standpoint, the press didn't really work. They were able to break it pretty easily. He was able to get downhill. And once you're playing with that kind of pace, that unlocks Maxi a little bit more. And I think if you're Miami, like Philly wants to get Miami in the mud, I think Miami wants Philly to be in the mud. You want this to turn into 15 or 16 seconds of James Harden dribbling around versus, well, high screen 55 feet from the basket. Now we're in rotation a little bit. Miami's good enough to deal with that, but you don't want to feed Philadelphia looks.
No, I understand. I think zooming out, I think I like the fact that it was kind of like a body blow, game
Mm-hmm.
long type deal, where hey, this is just going to be annoying for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the responsibility to have more pressure release screens, let them get some space, then come with your mismatch screen. Now Miami has to react a little bit. Maybe you give a switch you didn't think about giving, that type of deal. So I thought it was effective that way. I'm interested to see how they go do that going forward. I wonder how much they let Tyrese Maxey initiate the next game because he had some moments in space where it didn't look like Miami could keep him in front.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more they can unlock him, the more they can set high screens for him and let him get downhill. And now mix that in with what Harden is doing with mismatches, and hopefully you can continue to get Tobias going against certain people. That can get interesting, but it's going to be based on those three. Now, again, this is the issue with the series. Embiid's coming back at some point. And so all of this that they've established may become more powerful once he's back.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that pressure point that you have to deal with. And now we're just kind of going through the motions a little bit, just like the Toronto series. Because if you think about it, yeah, they were mismatch hunting with Harden, but now what's it going to look like when they get that mismatch and now Embiid comes to screen, a la the Raptors series?
Mm-hmm.
Does that become two on the ball? Does that open things up for Philadelphia? Who knows?
Can get a little bit dangerous there. On the I guess the Embiid adjacent front, if I want to talk about DeAndre Jordan, this may not be the matchup for him until Embiid comes back. I don't know how much more Dwayne Dedman I want to see.
Folks, we did it. We did it. We did it. Nekias has seen the light. Everyone, we have seen it. I cannot believe
Seen the
that
light.
you sat on this podcast less than a year ago and told me that Gorgie Dieng and Dwayne Dedman were the two best bigs out on the market and slandered DeMarcus Cousins' good name.
DeMarcus recorded the podcast with us. What you mean?
The GOAT.
You got it, but no. 5 fouls in 4 minutes is not what you want to see from Dwayne Dedman. Like, I feel like you kind of have to mirror the minutes with DeAndre.
Just play PJ at the 5, Jimmy.
Yes,
with other guards. There's
yeah.
no need. There's no need for. What's your line? Society has progressed past.
I will say, like, in beatless games, I don't think Miami's going to need Dedman right now. I think they'll be all right with transitioning to some PJ at the 5 as their like backup 5, and you can kind of reconfigure the rotation to make that work. Once Embiid's there, like, Dedman is still a pretty solid post defender, and you want him to eat up fouls so Bam doesn't have to in that regard. But without that matchup, he's not offering you much as a scorer. Defense, like, it's. I think they're all right.
All right. What was also interesting was Jimmy Butler attacking Tyrese Maxey. Miami looking to attack that matchup. That intrigued me. Bam had a really solid game. I thought for a minute we were going to get a aggressive rant from you tonight, but he turned that around. So
No, I was pretty proud of Bam.
Duncan Robinson DNP. Were you expecting that, or?
Was not expecting that. Was expecting limited minutes, maybe. I didn't think he just wasn't gonna play. That's a bit odd to me. Victor Oladipo completely taking that rotation spot, because Caleb Martin was gonna be there regardless.
I wonder if that's more matchup based.
Yeah, I mean, I guess against Harden at the very least, like, you didn't want to have a situation where he has two guys on the court at the same time that you can kind of mismatch hunt with. So I get it. Still a little bit surprising we didn't see him at all. Like, even once it turned into garbage time, there was no Duncan. Well, I don't know. That's a little bit interesting.
No, yeah. I mean, Miami just can't turn the ball over. They have to find the blend offensively. They can't turn it over, and they've got to make sure they keep Jimmy Butler in this aggressive zone and not let him get bogged down, because it felt like Philadelphia felt okay with his drives, try to defend without fouling, try and live with the pull-ups, go under if he's on off-ball actions. So he's got to find the counter, because they're going to need him as this series goes deeper and deeper. It was a great response in the second half from Miami, but Philadelphia did show a few things to make this a series if they hit the right points and if Joel Embiid comes back.
Yeah, they're going to need him back as soon and as safely as possible. Don't want to rush him back just because, but yeah, the template is there. Also, just quick shout out to Tyler Hero and Bam. Their pick and roll combination, 1.7 points per possession, which is insane. If you want to throw one quick Nekias Duncan out there, but
I like it.